I like to cut my plywood down to a more manageable size so I don't have to take the entire 3/4 inch sheet to my table saw. Here I'm making sure it's actually 48 inches wide and marking for my first cut. I also use this hard foam insulation to help with any tear out on the bottom and save me from accidentally cutting into my assembly table. This is just a simple straight edge guide I made for my skill saw out of scrap plywood. Super easy to make. And I like to mark both sides of my plywood at the distance to compensate for any error the drywall square has. And then for any crosscut under 24 inches, I find that as long as I have a straight reference side, like here on the end, my Kreg Rip-Cut works great for accurate and consistent crosscuts. I'll have a link in the description if you want to pick one up. So now that I have my sheet of plywood in smaller pieces, I can now take them to the table saw to get them to the final dimensions. For this unit, there's a total of 11 pieces that make up the whole shelf. 3 tall pieces that are the sides and the middle support, 2 pieces for the top and the bottom, and then 6 total shelves that can be moved around however you like. This last piece here got a little tricky. Here I'm marking the location of the pocket holes that I will drill to attach the sides and center support to the top and bottom pieces. I made this Kreg jig storage a while back to keep all my screws, clamps, dowels, and flush trim saw in so that I have them when I need them. Best way I found to keep it from moving is just these 2 auto-adjust dog clamps on either side. When doing pocket hole screws, you have to ensure that you set the depth not only on the jig correctly for your material, but the bit as well. I'm not the most efficient as possible setting my drill down each hole, but with these big pieces I needed 2 hands to support them. Here's a closer look at how well the dust collection actually does for this K4. There'll be a link to that in the description if you don't have one yet. Then on to sanding. I'm sanding here with my new Festool ETS EC 150, the 3mm stroke. I never liked sanding, but this makes it so much better and easier. It saves tons of time, which is money, so in my case, it was well worth the investment. So I went and bought this Kreg right angle clamp to use on this project, and I'm glad I finally did because it was perfect for this type of application. If you make lots of cabinets, drawers, shelves, or anything really, I think I'll leave another link in the description for you. Once I got the panels square, a quick pocket screw to keep them together was all I needed. Went around and put the rest in one after another until they were all in. Another project buy was this shelf pin jig from Kreg. Set it against the front of your workpiece, drill a hole, you put that set pin in, and you can drill however many holes you need. And on this side I had to use a spacer block. I've never drilled shelf pins before, so I don't know what it's like without it, but man, it makes it super easy with it. And they're all even because they have the set pin. Quick sanding to get rid of any tear out from the drill bit, and we're on to edge banding. The point of edge banding is to hide the look of the plywood edges and give it a more refined look, like solid wood. And then since the banding comes wide, you need to trim off the sides, so I'm using a simple edge banding trimmer that I found cheap at my local Woodcraft. And then since that completes the frame of the unit, I need to cut it back now. This 1/4-inch plywood isn't heavy, so it's definitely manageable at the table saw. You will see here though that because it is so thin it can get stuck. Since my outfield table is too far away, that's exactly what it did. Here I'm taking a final light pass on the edges just to smooth them out before adding some feet to the bottom. I just found these at my local home center and I use them to simply lift the plywood off the ground to avoid any kind of damage to the bottom. After the chipmunks are done talking in the podcast I was listening to, it's time to stain. I'm using the popular Minwax Jacobian on this to match another piece where this is going. I'm applying with a rag to keep any kind of dripping from happening since this is a taller piece. You can apply it with a foam brush if you wanted to, or some people even spray it on. But I like the rag way, it's a lot easier. This plywood soaks up stain really easily, so you got to be careful when you're using the rag to blend it in as you go. There won't be much wiping off afterwards. Now it's time to put the 5mm shelf pins in and the shelves. And then to keep with the rag theme, I finished it with a few coats of wipe-on poly by Minwax. It's very subtle, but it works to protect the finish, especially since this isn't a high traffic piece like a table would be. This is just going in a bedroom. Well, that's it. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up, and if you want to see more build videos, product reviews, and other woodworking videos, hit the subscribe button. And until next time.